get a bad name. Last night on the select board we had cake, so here I am eating these. Last night we were eating cake.
What's in cake?
Powdered cake and you just had. Was it good cake?
Well.
It was a chocolate, you had the choice, either chocolate or all vanilla.
Excellent. Where'd it come from? Who made
What was the
it?
occasion?
I saw it,
Big one.
yeah. Oh, I didn't see it.
Just because, or someone's birthday?
It was our town administrator's last.
Oh, did you guys finally settle on someone? Do you have a new
We
person?
do. We have Mr. Domina from the town of Whately. He was town administrator there for 7 years. So I give him about 7 weeks with us. But
That long?
I would think so, as late as possible.
Late as possible, 7:30. Just I'm gonna double check with
Want me to tell them 7:30?
Bob signed
double
up,
checking
Bob
the
signed
double
up
checking the day
for 6 months.
It's really hard.
He stayed for
You know,
4.5
it's like-
years.
on Sunday, I was like, oh, I have a meeting Monday, Tuesday. And then like last night, I was like, oh, I have another meeting right after this. I'm like, oh, we have meeting Wednesday, and then we meeting Thursday. I said, oh.
Where's it going now? Did you make anything or?
He's actually gonna work for the state
Sunday.
with arbitration.
I have not started yet.
Lord, how old is
Yes,
he?
I have to work on.
He's probably a little bit older than me, and I'm
Writing and editing
76.
some reports, so
So he's-
that was
Everything's
my-
happening.
Just go and
That's for tonight. so.
do whatever you want, whenever you want.
He was Joe Biden's roommate, you know.
What? So,
Him and Joe Biden used to go back and forth to school together in high school.
I bet he could tell us some stories. Yep.
And he used to.
Who's the he?
Huh?
Who's the he? Who's
Bob Markle, our town administrator.
Oh, wow.
And he used to date Valerie Biden, the president's sister.
You're kidding.
Yeah, revise, yes. Like, what revisions we could do
Oh,
for
good
the
God.
regional group.
Right. if you could, yeah.
Where does he live? Do he live in here?
He lives in Long Meadow.
Mom.
Aaron's gonna get
So this is gonna be quick and sweet. right?
Because I can't find
I've got dinner waiting, so I gotta look.
Can I come with you? I know.
Yeah, please.
I'll just come with my I'll just be 2
Honestly,
minutes.
it's a tomahawk steak. Yeah, so I bought 2 and I froze one and I got insulated froze one. My old dog is not doing well, so I'm like, you know, I texted my husband, I said, I'm gonna cook that steak that I put in the freezer because he's gonna be able to chew on the bone and nibble and have fun and, cause he's just not doing great, you know? I'm trying to give him like as much
Yeah.
joy that he can have while he's here, so. So he's like, you know you have a meeting, I said, I do, I said, we're gonna cook it at like 7 o'clock. Yeah, be home. Yep.
Will that work?
I'm confident in Michelle's abilities to get this. Lickety split. Yeah, she's the girl. She is. Did y'all vote? It's open till 8. Ours is anyway. How about yours?
I voted.
When you guys all till 8 too? Or
Yeah.
2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No lines?
I love that voting by mail. We've been doing that. That's great. Just saves the time. So good.
But you were here anyway.
I didn't know I was going to be here for this meeting.
Where would you be up?
I would be at
Where you
work.
gonna be?
I would still be at
You
work.
couldn't get here for 8?
No, I actually had to have someone, I actually had someone from Rhode Island come to cover me while I came to this meeting.
What do you actually do for Amazon? What do you?
I run the warehouse in Holyoke at PDO7.
Is that where they distribute them? So like
Yeah,
Stockholm's
yeah,
in there
it's
and
the,
then there's-
I'm sorry, I'm still like, yeah, it's the distribution center, so it's, we call it the last mile. So we get the packages and the packages go to your house from that station. Yeah. If you ever have any issues, just call and let me know.
At 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah,
I had one this morning at 4 o'clock. Dogs went crazy.
we dispatch it at
You said-
3:30
Yeah.
in the morning,
I'm sorry.
and at 6 in the morning, and then again at 9:10,
It's
and
annoying.
then we just, all day we dispatch. We dispatch it now.
Okay, so good evening. I'd like to welcome you to the planning committee meeting. I'd like to call us to order. It's 5 o'clock p.m. We will begin with roll call in alphabetical order. John Davenport.
Here.
Terry Griffith. Here. Sean Kennedy.
Here.
And Michelle Boudreau here. If you please stand. Don will lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we are going to discuss and kind of do a recap of the community forum and the next steps. So if we can probably just go around and kind of share our sentiments of the meeting and any thoughts, things that we heard. Who would like to-
I learned several things, okay? That, first of all, overcrowding, the issue of overcrowding seemed to have disappeared. No one seemed to be concerned about that. That there was a sense that there wasn't, people didn't know what was going on as many times as we've had public meetings and forums and outreach and mailings and that. That there's still a lot of Wilbur-centric thinking. And the most disheartening thing, and I want to phrase this properly, because I'm no way naive in these situations. I spent 20 years in the two of the largest prosecutors' offices in the state. I know a lot about juvenile justice and about kids and crime. But I was disheartened that so many, several of the people there viewed the upperclassmen the way they did, that they were waiting to take advantage of the younger students. And quite frankly, I think the upperclassmen, I hold kids in higher esteem than that. And I think kids are better than that. And I think the people who said that actually owe those kids an apology. That's my thoughts.
Thank you. Sean?
Yeah, I understand what you were trying to do with having as a listening session, but I think that maybe in the future, that if someone asks a question, we should answer it. If someone makes a statement, we listen. We give them the opportunity. Is this something you want us to listen to of your opinion, or is there a question that you have? And it was interesting, people were saying like, we don't know the difference between plan 1 and plan 2, and I guess it was behind us on the screen the whole time or something like that?
I think initially it was not, but
Oh,
it did
okay.
go up.
Yeah. So, yeah, there was a lot of people who didn't seem to know what was going on. And then, and the other thing is, you know, they're like, we don't care about the Cape. And it's just like, all right, listen, we visited 3 different schools that did this. And we asked questions, we went in open-minded and everything like that. You think that instead of applauding us for going and finding 3, you know, comparable schools to our district roughly, you know, that instead they were using that as a negative thing, like, you think we're the Cape, you're dumb. And then when they were talking about sexual assault of students, I was trying to say what I was asking about, because I thought that was the question I was hearing from parents, was like, you know, do seniors, as you were just saying, are they, whatever, going after the freshmen? I asked that embarrassingly so to every single group that we talked to at every single school, and the reaction was like, no, they didn't even, no, that's not happening. And then people were saying like, oh, this teacher did this and this teacher did that, and it's like, it's totally different, you know. I don't think sending the 8th graders to the high school is gonna be in the cards, folks. I mean, I did not hear, I've had some people reach out to me, very few people, that liked the idea, and I know a lot of people that I've talked to didn't like the idea, but when I talked to them about it, they were like, well, yeah, all right, well, we'll see. But I don't think anyone really, you know, loves this idea. So I don't know what we're going to do as a next step. I mean, I talked to John a little bit afterwards about some ideas, and but then that all takes time, you know. We want to get something that we can get to the towns, and let's see if we can get something that can pass to the towns. Because I think those people who showed up, they'll show up again, you know, which is their prerogative. I mean, this is what democracy is, right? So I strongly believe that sending the 8th graders to the high school is in the best interest of the school district, and it'll be a very good move for the students. But what I'm hearing from our constituents is that they want no part of it. And it's the same blowback that we got, or that we heard about from the 3 communities that we visited on the Cape. And then that was something that disappeared once they saw that it, didn't, their worst, Lord of the Flies, worries did not come true. I was actually disheartened.
Thank you.
I really wasn't surprised at the comments that were, given during our presentation. So many people came out to that event because it was publicized on Facebook. And parents were rallying one another to come to that event, and which is great, but it's too bad they didn't rally each other to come to all the other events that we had and the opportunities we had for them to be involved in the process. I said from the beginning I was not for 8th graders going to the high school, and I had my own feelings on the subject and family feelings that I literally asked my own family what they thought of it. But that being said, if that was the recommendation that we got in the process, I put trust in that process. I think that people cannot appreciate the fact that we are trying to work within a budget, work with a budget, and work with a student body that is changing. It's very dynamic, it's always changing, and we're working with 2 towns. And we're trying to make everyone happy, and it's a very difficult process. So I think that people, while they felt informed about that event, they're not informed about the big picture. And they need to get informed of the big picture and all the walls that we face and the walls we're up against with regard to budgets and funding. And quite honestly, how are we gonna pay for this, and where are we gonna put these kids if we don't make some changes? We have to make some changes. I've had multiple people reach out to me and give all their thoughts, and I'm happy to bring them forward. But again, we spent so much time, and I can't stress enough, and I feel bad for Dawn, because you kind of got attacked at that meeting by someone, and it was really very inappropriate, and I felt bad, and I was embarrassed as a citizen for the way people spoke to you at that meeting. And you are deserving of some respect. And people don't think, I don't know if they think we're getting paid a ton of money to do this. We're here of our own free will, and they're welcome to step up and do this. We're just citizens and taxpayers like they are, and we have kids and had kids in the system, and we all want the best for everyone moving forward, because it affects our bottom line. Let's face it, whether we are living in our house, selling our house, having kids in school, future kids in school, what have you. We all want the same end result, positive review and a positive effects for everyone. But we're just here of our own, goodwill, honestly. No one's getting rich off of doing this and volunteering our time and all the effort that people have put in, and the trips to the Cape, whatever, all these events. I just find it really disheartening to hear the comments that people had and the demeanor they had. Again, we're not getting rich off of this. We're just here trying to, look at all the different ideas and come up with something that'll work. So if there was one thing I could say to people is, step up. Come and volunteer your time. Come be informed. Come to a meeting. Come listen. Just be informed and get educated on the process and everything that we have seen. Because we toured literally every school, every nook, every cranny. I took a whole day of my time to do that. How many of these people would do that if they had to? I wonder. So we spent some time and looked at everything to come up with these ideas, and I just wish people would look at that whole thing. So that's kind of my bit on it.
So I have many of the same sentiments as everyone else around the table. I was appreciative for those that did show up. I was hoping for a larger crowd. based on sort of all of the content that was on social media and all the conversations that we had heard from emails that the school committee had received. And just, hoping that people understood that this was not being done in a vacuum. The information, we've tried to be as transparent throughout this process. We have dedicated a lot of time. We did have, certain confines that we were trying to work within. With budget constraints, we were not looking to build a new building. We're not here to have that be an outcome. So hearing things like that was disappointing. I do also agree with the fact that people don't understand, what we're looking at, and why we're looking at making the changes that we're looking to, and the fact that overcrowding, the fact that, we're looking at building utilization, things like that, and making sure that we're providing the best educational opportunities for students. So I think, part of that is I don't know that we have done, by we, not just the people in this room, but overall, we have not emphasized our reasons for this change and how it's going to benefit the students. Because everybody wants to see, how is this going to benefit me? If we say there's overcrowding, we kind of heard that, what do you mean there's overcrowding? So we have not shown what is the optimal class size. What does that look like? We're talking about, students possibly, or teachers having classrooms and closets. But what does that actually mean? It's not a giant walk-in closet. We're talking about a small storage space, and is that how we want our students to be educated? Is that how we want teachers to be delivering education? So, I think that we have not really shown the benefits of the changes that we're looking to make, whether it's the 8th grade coming to the high school. And then the other part is too, there's a lot of answers that we don't have at this time because we haven't, voted and agreed on an option, like both towns and all of the parties that have to come together to make this happen. We don't have the answers on how students will be, having those attendance, circles, and where they're going to go to school, and what is that actually going to look like, and how will services be received, how is this going to affect our, if we have students receiving special ed services. So I think, that doesn't help the problem, but I think the real messages that we're trying to drive home and the importance of us making this change, I don't know that we delivered that very clearly, concisely, so people could understand. And also, one of the really important factors was I think that people weren't making the connection between the regional agreement and the changes that we're looking to make. And the fact that, some of the changes, the conversations that we had here, were some of the changes, and at the school committee level, were some of the changes that we were looking to make was not necessarily that we were going to make that change immediately, but allow for some flexibility in the future. And I understand and I respect everybody's viewpoint who came and shared, their perspective, their concern, their worry, their, all of that. I do appreciate that because I think it's important for us to hear. So I do, while it was challenging not being able to answer every question as they did come in, I did think it, we know that where we've been every 2 weeks for the last, over a year. But for some people, this was their first time, and I think, we've been talking a lot, and we've been putting out information as to what we've been discussing. We're all on the same page, but it was important to hear from residents, as to their concerns. So, but I do also want to make sure that, I also agree that I don't know that this is anything that we can bring to this springtime meeting. I don't think we're in any position where, one, this would be successful, and I think it's important that if this is something that we're trying to do to affect change in a positive way for our students and for our district, so we can really elevate ourselves, and making sure that we have, the academic achievement that people, and, that everybody wants. I don't know that this is the time, and that we're prepared to bring this to the residents for a vote.
The way that we've been educating children, the way we do it now, is pretty much the same way we did it 50 years ago when I was a kid, right? And 51 years ago when Dawn was a kid. Right?
Kinda.
The way that we're going is just not sustainable. You know, it costs more each year to educate less children. People don't understand that. That doesn't make sense. How can that make sense? There's unfunded mandates. There's bureaucracy. There's reporting. There's just so much that's going on, and there's more being asked of the teachers. The teachers need to, you know, get more education, be able to educate better, educate more, learn new technologies, learn and get better. You know, we're putting so, again, it always falls on the teacher's shoulders. They're the ones that are teaching our kids, you know. So the issue is that I was told that this was a made-up crisis. We're just making up this crisis. We're just, why are we doing this? Why are we causing all this kerfuffle? Why? You know, and it's because, well, we had a strategic plan that was worked on for a long time, and that strategic plan says we need to utilize our buildings better, okay, and we need to figure things out better. Also, when we talked with the MSBA, the Massachusetts Building Authority, there you go, right? And basically what they say is, listen, why would we give you money to renovate any of your schools when you're not using Minnetonka here? You know, you have a half-empty school here. Half-empty is an overstatement, but you have room here. Why aren't you using this? You know, they paid for this. They paid half, roughly, right? So they want us to use this. They want them to be able to show that we're using this. So if we were hoping to do anything with any other schools or renovate or new roofs like we just did at Wilbraham Middle School, we gotta use the space that we have. And this is an amazing building. The message, we've sent it out 6 ways till Sunday, and it didn't get far enough. We did not succeed in what we were hoping to do. We did not get the word out as the way that we were hoping to get it out. And people did not receive the message. And where do we go from here? What are the next steps?
John, do you have any thoughts that you want to share?
Oh, and look, it's right there, and next steps. There you go.
So, you know, I have a few thoughts. And I think a couple of them involve some significant cost increases. I know that one of the things that this committee wanted to do was exercise fiscal responsibility. And I know you're correct in what you've said, that the state has said that, you know, basically my understanding is we would not be a very highly looked upon candidate for any state support for building projects because we have excess capacity within the district already. But residents have told us they don't want 8th graders at the high school. So one option would be to build on to the middle school in Wilbraham, and that would probably be almost entirely at local cost. That is one option. That's probably the most expensive option, but it would be consistent with the sort of intentions we heard that night, I think. Another option would be to completely shut down transferring from Hamden to Wilbraham. You know, I think at last year we had almost all of the middle school students transfer from Hamden to Wilbraham, and looking at transfers coming in this year again, it looks like that's the case as well. So if you considered 2 years of not accepting transfers, then you would have had a big part of the overcrowding situation in middle school resolved. Financial implication of that is, as you know, part of the reason that we've been able to do so well in this year's budget and next year's budget is we've reduced staff at Green Meadows in order to reflect reduced students. So there would be an additional cost of putting that staff back there. If we just said, we're turning off the spout at this time, students need to stay in Hamden if that's where they reside. A third option, which I would have to do some research on, and, you know, I'm not sure what the financial implications would be, is we could try creating an innovation pathway that allowed students by choice to move up to the high school from the middle school. John has told us that he needs about 100 students to make a difference. You know, so if there was a pathway or combination of pathways that was attractive to, you know, about that many students, then that's something that, you know, we could try to implement at the high school. I think you could do it probably without changing the regional agreement. You just call it an annex of the middle school, you know, that they'd still be considered middle school students but educated in a separate setting because they belong to the program. But I would say, you know, just to educate a little about the innovation pathway, the concept there is, it's like majoring in something while you're in high school. And school needs to have a articulation agreement with a higher ed program and with an industry partner. And so put those three together and design a sequence of courses. It also involves an internship, also involves some college courses that students would take while they're in high school. The state says to build one of those programs takes about a year just to do the planning. So in this case, I think it would be more so because not only would we do the planning for the program, but we'd also be planning to see if there was an appetite in the local, you know, communities to even send students to such a program if it existed. So those are three options I can think of at this time.
Didn't you at one time talk about,
Yeah.
didn't you at one time talk about a STEM or STEAM academy?
Yeah, so I would, my recommendation if we go in that direction would be to organize it as a innovation pathway, because that creates rigor. Basically, you know, by having an industry partner and having a higher ed partner, what you're doing is ensuring that whatever you create is preparing kids to graduate high school with industry credentials, so if they want to go right into the world of work, and also very highly valued high school experiences if they want to go on to college. So I think that would ensure that whatever we came up with was high quality. Now, in terms of STEM and STEAM, I can tell you that there are certain industry sectors that the Department of Education is favoring for this at this time, and they're based on the workforce needs of the state. So one of the main drivers of the Massachusetts economy is healthcare. So healthcare and social assisting might be one, and that obviously is very heavily embedded with STEM.
If you stop transfers from Hampton,
Mm-hmm.
how would you do that? I mean, where would you put the kids? So now I got a seventh grade. You wouldn't, the kids who are here now wouldn't have to go back.
No.
Okay. So now it would start like in fifth grade, so my kid's in sixth grade. So you know you gotta stay here for sixth grade and you gotta stay here for seventh grade. And eventually you build up 3 classes, I guess. But would they be at Green Meadows or would they go to Thornburgers or?
So that, I mean, that's one thing we haven't projected. One thing I've heard, and I believe is true, is that from the beginning there were always transfers over. So I think if all students, like I said, just turned out,
Yeah.
you might by the 3rd year run out of room at Green Meadows. And so then you'd have another situation that you have to resolve down there.
So on that note, how many kids from Hamden are coming to Wilbraham Middle School? Do you have a number, like off the top of your head, just a rough figure? You talking
Yeah,
50 kids, 100 kids?
It's over 100. I want to say it's about 120.
So 6th, 7th, 8th grade, there's over about 120 kids.
Yeah.
So if you took those 120 kids and said, you're gonna go to school, you're gonna go to middle school at Green Meadow, and Wilbraham kids will go to school at Wilbraham Middle School, would that alleviate the crowding at Wilbraham Middle School?
It would,
And then it would overcrowd Green Meadow?
potentially, yeah. I would say probably not in year 1 and year 2, but probably by year 3.
So which
Approximately,
school,
yeah.
so you're talking about potentially expanding Wolverham Middle School, which school would be better to expand? Could we add a classroom or two to Green Meadow and get by with the number of students? Versus, you know, multiple at Wolverham Middle, because I would assume it'd be more than that for Wolverham Middle School. I mean, I'm just thinking fiscally, what would be the least expensive way to do this? Because that's the, I mean, obviously we want the best education for the kids, but, you know, the parents seem to be telling us there's no problem with the overcrowding. Of course, we're hearing different from teachers and staff, and we saw it with our own eyes. But, you know, on the same token, they're saying, you know, our taxes are going up because of school expenses. I mean, let's face it, the school is the biggest budget for both towns, the school system. So what is the least expensive way to remedy any of this?
Go junior high school model. Get rid of the middle school altogether. See, the middle school works when you have a group of students and you have two different teams, you know, and it's a different way of educating. It's next level as opposed to junior high school, which is just go and take a bunch of classes, all right? Middle school takes those classes and basically has a lesson that lays over everything and ties everything together. It's really amazing. I went to a junior high school and I had friends that went to a middle school, and I remember us talking about our experiences. It was like, wow, you guys went to something that was amazing. We don't, as a school committee, we don't want to go to the junior high school model because the junior high school model is not the best education that we can offer our students. The middle school model is great. Now listen, I understand, you know, Hamden wants their students educated in Hamden, Wilbraham, but I'm looking at it like this. I don't believe that the middle school, as it would be at Green Meadows, would be serving the students there as a true middle school and give them a true middle school experience. What, you have 100, 120, you have 60 kids on a team, that's like 4 classrooms, roughly, right? And it just doesn't seem 2 and 2, it just doesn't seem like, for everything that I was told, in order for it to work, you need 100 kids on each team. That's what I was told back in the day. I don't know if that's changed, I don't know if I was given wrong information, but I was always toying around with that number. Is that close, John?
I would say most teams are in that area.
Right.
Most school teams.
Yeah. So, so we can go back to a junior high school model, like which we did before. You can, you know, it's just a different education. I was not happy being on a school committee where we had basically something that was called Wilbraham Middle School and Thornton Burgess Middle School, and they weren't middle schools, they were junior high schools. So, and then we did a lot, we made sacrifices, the towns made sacrifices, and we were able to get the staffing that we needed and the space that we needed to make it a middle school, which has been great for the students. You know, what's cheaper? We can always do cheaper. You know, there's always a cheaper option, but the cheaper option does not give the results. And if people in town don't care about the education or the quality of the education, I'm not saying you don't, I'm not saying you don't, I know that you're just trying to, let's look at everything, right? But at the end of the day, where's that balance between what kind of education we can provide as a, you know, higher education versus the cost? And I understand it comes down to cost. But I also want to say, and forgive me, but the people in Wilbraham and the people in Hamden, I believe at every town meeting have voted to take on those costs, you know, and to give the best education we can to our children. Did anyone hear that there was a Minnetonka student that just won a Grammy, or was that the Grammys, right?
Yep.
Isn't that really cool? I don't know, I read the article and it said a Minnetonka student, and I was so pumped. I was like, that was a Minnetonka student, and then someone asked me, well, was that student from Hamden, or was that student from Wilbraham? And I was like, wow. And I'm Wilbraham, right? I'm like, I didn't I didn't think to ask, because I didn't care. They were chalk, you know, and I wish that Hamden and Wilbraham would get a little chalkier, you know, let's chalk it up a little bit, like, we understand we're two different towns, we used to be the same town, right? Like, we are Americans, you know, we Michelle and I, when we cut each other, it's red blood, right? You know what I mean? It's like, come on. So,
That goes hand in hand with what I said back in the beginning, if we
On
have
the
a
record.
Minichog Regional School
Except it's never been
District,
any other way.
you don't have town lines.
right,
It all sounds great, Sean, I don't know how we're gonna pay for it.
yeah, exactly.
So, and I don't know that people have the appetite to, pay more. So everyone's paying, you know, a good amount, we need to come up with a solution within the budget, within what we have, what we're working with. And that's what I would like to see us do, is come up with some kind of resolution, something that works for both towns and gives everyone what they need. I don't feel like we're that far off, I just think we need to look at everything.
Can you touch briefly on, Terry, if you don't mind, the thing that we talked, I don't know if we ever actually talked about, I think I texted you about the, at the last finance meeting, when the town administrator from Wilbraham asked us for, I believe it was, quote, hard numbers on what it would cost to, I don't know, divorce Hamden, you know, and split. And then when I asked, you know, John, like, you know, can we whip up some numbers? He looked at me and he's like, that's a lot of work, and that's something we're really gonna have to, like, if he's instructed to, like, spend time and get people together and really figure out what is that cost gonna be, because then there's also questions about Minichog, like, what happens to Minichog if we split? So could you just touch on what that appetite is, and could you give us a little information?
I think that was just, you know, throwing it out there because of the split, the 80-20 split, or it's not quite 80-20, but I think that was just a thought process of, you know, what would it cost for one town to have a whole entire school system, if you will, versus being part of a regional school district. It certainly would be more than 20% of what is being paid, and you know, we're hearing from taxpayers, you know, we're not paying any more, we're not adding, we don't wanna pay any higher taxes, you know, and the school system gets more more part of the tax dollar than anything else. And we're not going to vote for any kind of increases. We're hearing that from people left and right. I mean, people literally email in saying that. So that was I think the concept behind it was, you know, what would it cost for Hamden to have their entirely own, have Thornton Burgess, have your own entire school district, and Wilbraham have their own, and you know, I think it was like kind of like an eye opener of what would it cost. So
100 years ago, Mariella will remember this.
I remember this.
That's what we used to have. Hamden had,
right.
Hamden had Green Meadows and Thornton Burgess. The students went to Minichog. The superintendent of Hamden was the assistant superintendent of the region. And I don't know how much it was back then, probably $150,000.
What prompted the change? What prompted the two towns to
I don't know,
collaborate?
you were on the, Mariella was, I think Mariella, didn't the state promise us all kinds of money?
Of course.
And before that, we used to send,
100% busing.
before Minichog, we used to send our kids to Springfield.
We used to go to, they used to do different high schools in Springfield.
Hamden.
Yeah.
Hamden with tuition or something to school.
They'd be tuition to the different schools.
So I mean, there's been a lot
That
of
was a
changes
bus-
over
that was
the
a bu-
years.
That was a bus ride.
There's been a lot of changes over the years, and, you know, I think we all need to be respectful of the changes that have happened and why they've happened, and be mindful of that. And, again, we need to be fiscally responsible to the people paying the taxes. I mean, and people don't have endless pockets. I mean, the inflation that's hitting the country is tremendous, and everyone's feeling it. So just because the school budget goes up, doesn't mean people's salaries went up, doesn't mean they have more money to pay for that increase in the budget, and everyone's raises, and all the building changes, and So, I mean, people are feeling that crunch, and where are they going to find this money, and how are they going to do it? So, does that mean people leave our towns, and they move, and they go to towns with lower tax rates? Because they're all around us. I mean, I get reminded of it all the time. You know, I don't wanna see people leave our towns because they wanna go somewhere that the taxes are less. I mean, they still have decent schools, I don't think there's any big standout school that is that much greater than any other one. I mean, and let's face it, it's all the individual students anyway. I mean, that's the key to the whole thing is the students and the teachers. You have good kids, you have good teachers, you have good results. It doesn't matter if you pay, you know, this amount or this amount. You know, it's the student and the teacher working together to get that result. So, I mean, I don't wanna see people leaving our towns to go to lower taxed towns, but it's thrown at us all the time. I hear it all the time from people. I can go here and pay, you know, 3% less in taxes. It doesn't sound like much, but when you do the numbers, based on a whatever, $1,000, $500, $300,000, whatever it is, it's a lot of money for folks. And people are not getting the pay increases that to keep up with this, inflation that's hitting us. I mean, the last 3 years have been tremendous for people.
I don't know where you get $500. I thought it was,
I'm just throwing,
was it $149 for $1 million, right?
I'm just throwing out numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not a
So it
numbers
would
person, I
be,
never
yeah,
pretended to be.
if
So
for some reason
please-
the town had to come up with another $1 million for the school, I don't think that's what we're looking at, but it would cost the taxpayers 149? Is that what the number was, that they had said at the finance?
I don't know, I never
Yeah.
pretended to be a numbers person, I am not a numbers person, but, so it's 150 for this, 149 for this, and now their insurance premiums went up, and their taxes went up, and their insurance on their house
No,
went up, and their
I'm that
insurance
guy.
on their car went up.
I'm that guy, you know?
I'm feeling the crunch. I mean, I
Yeah.
think we all are, and I think that's what a lot of the frustration was at that meeting. You know, people no one likes change, let's face it, change is bad, no one wants change. But especially change where, you know what, now we don't have $40 to go out to dinner on Friday night because we gotta save it and use it for our insurance on the car, because the car insurance just went up, and my insurance medical premiums just went up. So, I mean, I think that's where people are really starting to think about this. You know, people have saved money in the last 3 years, their savings are gone,
Yeah.
or they're significantly depleted. And it scares people, especially people that are paying for college, or they're thinking about college. I have one kid who just graduated and one kid who's only a sophomore in college. It's tremendous. The money that is involved is tremendous. And I think people are just starting to really wake up to that fact.
I'm hearing from a lot of people that, you know, what do we, like, can you show us what we're getting for the money?
Yeah, show us.
Show us
where
what
our
we're
money's
doing.
going.
Show us that it's a better education for our children. Show us how their scores are going up. Show us how they're getting into better colleges. You know, like, you know, I think that the appetite in town from the people that I've talked to is, okay, we'll give you what you want, but show us that it's gonna work. Show us it's just not throwing money into this void.
And to that note, you look at our scores and all the, you know, and tests are, you know, I don't put a lot of weight on tests, but, and numbers, but, you know, they're not any better or really significantly different than other places. So people are saying, why are we paying so much more if we're not seeing the proof in the pudding? And so, yeah, people are starting to ask, you know, ask those questions.
We are significantly better than, I would say, half of the schools in Massachusetts. So I wouldn't say that we're no better and no worse than all schools around. I mean, I think we are, you know, no one likes to be in the middle, everyone wants to be on the top. But for what we're doing, what we're putting in, our teachers, you know, you were saying before that the school is the students, you know, and then how the teachers and the students work together. And I would say the school is the teachers and how the teachers and the students work together. It's the students and the teachers. The students have to be willing to learn and really push themselves, and that comes from good families that are pushing education, you know, and the importance of it, as well as the teachers that, you know, how many hours are they putting in? They go home, they're grading, they're coming with lesson plans, they're working, they're talking to students, they're doing whatever they can to help, extra time, extra credit, extra work, extra help. You know, it always falls on the teachers. We're lucky, we have amazing teachers and we have amazing students. The administration as well, I'm not trying to take away from the administration. John, I know that you're only a couple of years in, but I'm telling you, I like what I'm seeing.
Been here like 20 years, right, John?
3 lifetimes, right?
So John, ultimately,
Feels like
what do
50
you
years.
see,
Yeah.
what do you see are our
Feels
next
like
steps? I
50.
mean, we can talk all night. We need to zone in here and figure out what our next steps are.
I want to answer that question, but I'm looking something up, but I just want to.
Oh, sure, play with your phone.
I think one of the things that we need to do is, you know, clearly not move forward with, you know, what we were hoping to was, you know, going to annual town meeting. But I think that we also need to, make sure that any decision that we make, you know, kind of, you know, regroup and look at making sure that any decision that we're making is not short-sighted, because, you know, if we make a small change that we just have to undo later, that's not productive, that's not fiscally responsible. We're talking about fiscal responsibility. We put money into investing into the middle school model, and then we're pulling out of that by moving the 8th grade to the high school. We did this to, you know, save money here, and understanding that we're not truly saving money, we're just reallocating resources. You know, we're reinvesting back into our districts and the students. So with that, but I think that, you know, I don't know if everybody's in agreement and consensus with, you know.
Do we think maybe that the next meeting, I think we're having a school committee meeting on Thursday. I don't know, is it too late? Can we, I don't know what your availability is Thursday, but to have you come and talk, because we have done the work as 4 people have, and to be able to sit there and answer questions and talk to the school committee and then see what we can come up with.
Well, you're both on the school committee,
Yeah,
can you
that's
not
why we're there.
convey our,
Oh, we can, I just
Can
didn't
you
know if you
cannot
wanted a
convey
voice
the-
also.
no, I don't know, you might be meeting that.
I'll be at Mass General on Thursday and Friday.
Yeah. But I mean, you can convey
Yeah.
what we discussed about, I mean,
That's what
that's
we do every
why.
meeting.
I would just didn't know if you wanted to save yourselves, that's all. I have no
think-
problem
and
representing.
the nice thing is that most of the school committee members were there, so they got to live and hear what we also heard. So I don't know that everybody's experience would be much different than ours. Maybe, I don't know.
No,
They
about the
can share.
future, about what steps to
Right.
go.
Right.
So, I just wanted to respond to your statement, John. It's an evidence-based statement. And this may be where, another area where we're not doing a good job educating the public. So, if you go to the Department of Education website, there is an accountability rating for every school. This is basically a rating that compares the schools to their similar schools, so elementary to elementary, high school to high school, et cetera, on a number of measures, most of which have to do with academic achievement. There are also some for participation in high-level courses. There are also some for attendance, but primarily most of the indicators are academic. Accountability percentile for the high school right now is 73, meaning it is in the top 27% of high schools in the state. So it's more than the top half. And I wonder if folks know that when they're wondering if they're getting a value for their
I meant the whole, I was looking at the whole district, I know that Minichog scores very high.
Right, so, but, and you can get those numbers for any of the schools. But I wonder how well we're doing getting that out. You've seen reports on college going, you know, I've reported to the school committee on whether students get into school, to colleges, and our rates are right up there, you know. And not just getting in, but persisting, because that's really actually
Yeah.
more important. It's one thing to get into college, but it's another thing to be able to stay in
Finish.
college. And you know, that may be something that we need to do a better job of sharing with the public as well. In terms of next steps, so you know, what, I don't know, I guess out of respect for what you just said about what you're hearing from taxpayers, it seems like the first two options probably aren't great because, adding to the footprint of Wilbraham Middle School will be several millions of dollars, I can tell you that, and without doing an
No,
extensive
it'll trigger a revamp of the whole building. When you spend a certain amount of money, that's why we had to be very careful when we did the roof, is because if the roof is a certain percentage of the total worth or total value of the school, then it triggers a whole, all codes have to apply.
code update,
Yeah, code update, and that would be in the multi-millions.
Yes, so that sounds like it's not going to be high on the list. Also, reinstituting all the staff at Green Meadows would be, the savings this year I think is between $300,000 and $400,000, so that would be adding another $300,000 and $400,000 permanently. Plus the prospect of then doing in addition at Green Meadows, which will probably also be in the tens of millions of dollars. So that leaves us with, do you want me to look at whether we should create any kind of pathways to see if we can do something to address overcrowding at the middle school by taking smaller chunks?
Do you think that we could do something, and I don't know what the turnaround would be, and I please forgive me, I hate when I throw out ideas like this and you go, oh, because of the personnel limitations and stuff that you have, but that we could do would you be interested in your student attending a Pathways program, and this is what the Pathways program is, give just a brief idea of what it is, if it were to take place at Minnetonka for 8th graders, and send it to the middle school, so 6th graders, and then maybe to the 5th graders' parents, and to see what the appetite would be.
I don't think it's the type of thing you do with a survey. I think first you have to find who your college partners are, who your industry partners are, bring them in and talk to families and say, we could create this pathway for your child, but we're not going to do it unless there's enough interest. Is it something you want us to do? So I think it has to be kind of a face-to-face conversation.
So you're saying that the work has to be done, and then we can find out if people are interested, instead of finding out if people are interested and then do the work?
Right.
Okay.
I forgot.
You have time, right?
I know, it's more, but I know, well,
No,
this
I-
whole
just the last
process has
few
been a
weeks,
lot of
it's-
work
yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I know.
continues longer maybe than we want. Because I don't think it's fair to ask someone to say, well, will you be interested in something they don't understand,
Right. We just did that. We just asked people to say, what do you think about something that you don't understand?
And
It
you
doesn't-
saw how that went.
Right.
I talked to some people, and they said that they didn't believe that the people who showed up, at this meeting was a true representation of the sentiment of the people moving in with the people in Hamden. And I'm like, you should have shown up. I mean, we were there.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
They probably aren't the true sentiment, or
Well,
they,
for example, Wilbraham is a town of, we have almost 12,000 registered voters. 268 people showed up at the town meeting last year.
Yeah. At our meeting, we had 125 at peak. I was counting people as they were coming, going roughly, and I counted about 125 people. So those 125 people have set things in motion for the 12,000 voting.
yeah, but the
And
125
that's just
people,
Wilbraham, that's
Wilbraham.
not counting what, how many in Hamden?
but the 125 people
7,000,
didn't speak, only a few of them did.
45,
Yeah.
And one just listened.
Yeah, yeah.
How many students total in the district?
About 2,800.
2,800 kids. So,
I think one of the things that people don't understand, that the whole dynamic is changing. The way you educate kids is changing, the demographics is changing, the financial picture is changing, everything after the pandemic the technology is changing. And the regional agreement was fine in 1993, but it's really hamstringing what could be done in 2023 or 4. So I think, I don't know how you do that, but,
And someone even mentioned, I think it was Karen Romano, she said that if, I believe it was her, that if we did control, if we passed this agreement, that we no longer have control. And I'm like, but you have control. You know, every year you're given to, at least in Wilbraham, you know, in Hamden, 2 out of 3 years, you're given a vote to go and put who you want and with your beliefs into these positions in the school committee. So it's like that. I did not agree with that. We're trying to give, like what you just said, room so we're not hamstringing ourselves, so that we can be able to pivot more when it comes to the best way to educate our kids. And I don't think we found that way. We haven't found it yet.
I think the district, the agreement as it's written really hinders us
Yeah.
from helping all the kids
Mm-hmm.
from all the towns, never mind town lines.
Yep.
You know, if we're a district, we're a district, period. But again, Minnetonka Regional District, there's no Hamden, there's no Wilbraham, it's Minnetonka Regional District. And everyone is one, and we work together and get it done the best way for everyone, period. Yeah, the comments about they're gonna lose, everyone's gonna, you'll lose control, I didn't agree with that, and that's, I think, people not understanding the concept.
I almost said lose control of what?
I don't know.
But you get in the bus, you send them to school.
I don't know. And one thing that really needs to be emphasized, the folks that are on the are on the school committee, they're not paid. It's not paid, you're not making millions of dollars doing this. You're there, because you care and you have a concern and you wanna try to help and contribute. And same with select board, and same with, all these different boards and committees. I just can't stress that enough. The comments people had and just the disregard for your fellow neighbor. I was really just disheartened by that, by some of the comments. We're all just trying to work together and do the right thing. If you don't like it, vote us out and vote someone new in. Or run for office yourself. That's my biggest thing. Step up and run.
It costs us money to run, right? And then it costs us money to be on the committee. I mean, how many
Don't
times?
scare anyone. It doesn't cost a lot of money to run, so please.
No, I said it costs money, I didn't say a lot.
Or upon elections season.
Yeah.
It
No,
doesn't-
but what I'm saying is like there's many times when I'm in a meeting and I have to pay someone to pick up my son and bring him home or whatever because I'm here, and we cost him time away from our families. But I truly believe it's in the best interest of my community, of my town, that I love my town and I want to represent them. I have taken so much from this world in growing up, and this has been a little piece of me trying to give back to this world rather than just taking. And that is truly, truly how I feel.
And that's the thing, we're looking at the best interest of, 2,800 plus students,
Yeah.
not just our own. And that is the perspective that we're taking as a community.
And I'm glad I never asked. Is that Grammy winner from Hamden or Wilbraham? Didn't he?
They're
And
actually
I don't
from
want to know.
Springfield. They're actually from Springfield.
Oh, they are?
They are.
I heard that they were from Hamden, and then they said they were from Wilbraham. So no one really knows where they're from, unless you
They're from
know.
Springfield.
They're from
It
Springfield.
was in the paper. It's
I
from
know
Springfield.
where they're from.
But they're chalk, that's all I care about.
That's right, that's all that matters.
Yeah.
That triggered something for me, like, it's also related to next steps. Like, one of the things that Aaron and I have talked about is if this does get moved aside, then we probably have to talk about revisiting our recommendations around choice. Because one of the things we saw from those projections was that the reduction of choice students in order to save space at the high school would cost about $500,000. So, over time, so we have to probably rethink whether we want to do that. If we're not saving space for anyone, we probably have to try
Well, this has to be
think
decided by the
about.
school committee if we're gonna go
Right.
forward or not. Michelle and I can say, no, we're not going forward, and then
I
you have
understand.
5 other members that say,
I
Let's
understand, I'm
go.
just putting it in the universe of
Yeah.
options of next steps.
I gotta play the lottery again.
Every day should be,
Gotta
every day.
play it,
We're trying.
right?
So with that, think we seem to all be on the same page.
It's a sad page.
Yes, but it's not over, it's just, you know,
Books have highs and lows.
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah,
we're
I got
moving
you.
on, so we will continue our work, of course, just not tonight. So we will reconvene at a meeting. So are we asking, so, John had mentioned the innovative pathway, are we asking him to, well, actually, we're gonna discuss this at the school committee
At
meeting.
school committee
We will
meeting.
reconvene and we can go over what the
Just
school
as a
committee
quick one here,
says.
just like, does that sound, that sounds like an amazing idea to me. Is that something that you would be on board with? Terry, do you like it?
It's intriguing.
Okay, all right. So I don't know how much or what or whatever, but I think we need to bring it up at the school committee meeting,
Right, so
but
we'll
we
do,
like,
we'll
we
do the
like it.
update at the meeting
Mhm.
as per the agenda. And then we will, you know, see how that conversation goes, and then we will, you know, reconvene, we'll send out a request for a meeting in the future.
And I just wanna mention the meeting that we all have, we're all invited to on the
25th.
25th, which will be the select boards from both towns, the finance committees from both towns, school committees from both towns, I believe are
Capital.
invited. Capital is there, so that will be an interesting meeting to get a lot of people in the room that know the numbers and the figures and the ideas. So it's definitely one to, you know,
Yeah, that's something we should shoot for, really, coming up with a vision that we think that can, you know, that we can pass through both towns, that is in the best interest of our students and best interests of our towns.
What time is that meeting?
that meeting.
5 o'clock.
I believe so, yeah.
That police station?
Yeah, I think you
I
have the
actually-
invite, you should. I
Okay.
think she already sent it out, right?
I did, but just for 5 o'clock, and that's the one with the legislators, all could make it, all three can make it.
Oh, that's our meeting.
That's our meeting.
Oh, I thought
Yeah,
this
yeah.
was a separate meeting, so
I
I'm
know,
like,
I-
oh,
that's
wait,
why I
let me
was-
write this down.
Yes, no,
Okay,
you don't need to
got
write
it.
it down, you do
We
it all.
planned this, okay.
So that's
Oh,
right.
you actually planned it.
Yes.
This is our.
And
our-
that is normally
Okay.
when the Wilbraham Board Select Board meets. So we are we're going to change our meeting around to
Okay.
accommodate that meeting, but yeah, I have it in as 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah, that was for the legislators said if they could come, it would only be at 5, so I think you guys meet too at 6 on that.
They meet on Tuesdays, don't you?
Oh, you meet on
Tuesdays?
So
Tuesdays?
Mondays.
Monday.
They do Monday, okay.
Yeah, they do
Well, we'll
Monday.
just change them, that's all.
Perfect, it's Monday the 25th.
I'll institute the power of the chairman and change.
Nice, look at that.
So we will all be seeing each other on the 25th. May I have a
And
motion
hopefully
to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second,
Okay, so roll call.
Did you want to talk
Well,
about the next date?
Non-debatable
Nope.
motion.
I don't wanna vote yet.
Oh, yes.
So, Coach, the plan is we're punting and we hope we can get the ball back?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we are just, we're just actually going to
John's
have
gonna
a
come back and
conversation
dazzle us.
with our
On-site
school
cake.
committee. So this is
On-site
not, we're
cake.
not over, we're not finished, we're just, I'm presenting this to the school committee, kind of discussing the same thing and kind of what we discussed. We'll also be coming together on the 25th, having that larger conversation, and then our next meeting likely will not be until after the 25th. And then we'll reconvene and kind of figure out if there's any direction from the school committee to see where we land.
you don't think we wanna meet before the 25th, just to get ready for the 25th?
25th's a whole different thing.
Well, that's our normal budget
Yeah,
roundtable,
right, yeah.
but I think that, we have a pretty heavy meeting schedule, so it's gonna be difficult to,
Yeah, no, we
plan a
could-
meeting.
we could-
So in an effort just to kind of make sure that we can all make our other obligations, after the 25th.
But it's budget time,
Yeah,
plus we're negotiating with the police and.
so you'll get an email asking to see if people are available, but it will likely not be until after the 25th. But we will
Okay.
plan it prior to then.
So now we're voting, aye.
Terry?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye,
Myself, I, we're adjourned 6 o'clock.
thank you.